Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Superhero's Insurance Agent. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed, or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Superhero's Insurance Agent begins now. And when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Superhero's Insurance Agent. Jenny Martinez had been working at Heroic Insurance Company for exactly 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days when she finally snapped. It wasn't the endless paperwork that broke her, nor was it the impossible deadlines or the coffee machine that only worked on Tuesdays. No, what finally pushed Jenny over the edge was a claim form that simply read, "Through a bus at Villain. Bus had passengers. Sorry." The claim was submitted by Captain Tremendous, one of Metro City's most beloved superheroes, who had apparently forgotten that public transportation vehicles weren't meant to be used as projectiles. Jenny stared at the form, then at the attached photos showing a city bus wrapped around the 34th floor of an office building like a metallic pretzel. The estimated damage was $4.2 million, not including the therapy costs for the traumatized passengers who had been inside during their unexpected flight. "That's it," Jenny muttered, pushing back from her desk so forcefully that her wheeled chair crashed into the cubicle wall behind her. Her colleague, Marcus, peered over the partition with concern. "Another bad one?" he asked sympathetically. Marcus handled claims from the Midwest region, where the superheroes tended to limit their destruction to cornfields and abandoned warehouses. "Captain Tremendous threw a bus," Jenny said flatly. "A bus with people in it." Marcus winced. "Was anyone hurt?" "Miraculously, no. But 17 people now have a fear of both flying and public transportation. Do you know how hard it is to calculate psychological damage claims?" Jenny's supervisor, Miss Chen, materialized beside her cubicle with the supernatural timing that all middle managers seem to possess. "Is there a problem, Martinez?" "No problem," Jenny said through gritted teeth. "Just processing another claim from our beloved protectors, who seem to think the city is their personal playground." Miss Chen adjusted her glasses and examined the claim form. "Ah, yes, Captain Tremendous. He's actually one of our better clients. Last month, Destructo Man leveled an entire shopping district, trying to stop a purse snatcher." "A purse snatcher," Jenny repeated. "He destroyed an entire shopping district for a purse snatcher." The purse contained $37 and a half-eaten sandwich, Miss Chen added helpfully. That was the moment Jenny decided things had to change. She couldn't quit. The job market was tough, and Heroic Insurance was the only company that offered dental coverage comprehensive enough to handle stress-related teeth grinding. But she could try to make a difference. That evening, Jenny stayed late at the office, analyzing 3 years' worth of superhero damage claims. The numbers were staggering. In the past year alone, Metro City's superheroes had caused $847 million in property damage, while stopping crimes that would have resulted in losses of approximately $3.2 million. The math didn't add up, and Jenny was tired of being the one who had to make it balance. She compiled her findings into a presentation, complete with graphs showing the correlation between superhero enthusiasm and structural damage. The slide titled, "Number of Buildings Destroyed to Stop Jaywalkers, a Concerning Trend," was particularly damning. The next morning, Jenny marched into Miss Chen's office with a proposal that would either save the company millions or get her fired. "I want to create a training program," she announced. "Mandatory seminars for all superheroes covered by our insurance policies. We'll call it Heroic Damage Minimization, saving the day without destroying it." Miss Chen looked skeptical. "You want to teach superheroes how to be less destructive?" "Think about it," Jenny said, pulling up her presentation on Miss Chen's computer. "Last quarter, we paid out $312 million in claims. If we could reduce that by even 20%, we'd save over $60 million. The program would pay for itself within months. And you think superheroes would actually attend these seminars? We make it a requirement for coverage. No training, no insurance. And without insurance, the city won't authorize them to operate. They'll have to attend." Miss Chen leaned back in her chair, considering. "You know, Martinez, this is either brilliant or insane. I'm not sure which." "Why not both?" Jenny suggested. 2 weeks later, Jenny stood in a rented conference room, facing her first class of reluctant superheroes. The room was reinforced with steel beams and lined with damage-resistant padding. A necessary precaution she'd learned after the orientation session, when Sparkplug had sneezed and short-circuited the entire building's electrical system. "Welcome to Heroic Damage Minimization," Jenny began, trying to project confidence despite facing a room full of beings who could bench press cars. "I'm Jenny Martinez, and I'm here to help you save the day without bankrupting the city." The assembled heroes looked less than enthusiastic. Captain Tremendous sat in the front row, his massive frame making the reinforced chair groan. Behind him, the Crimson Crusader checked her phone while floating 3 inches above her seat. In the back, the mysterious Shadowhawk had somehow made the fluorescent lights above him dimmer, creating a pocket of dramatic darkness. "Let's start with a simple question," Jenny said, clicking to her first slide. "Can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture?" The image showed a superhero triumphantly standing atop a collapsed apartment building, holding a rescued cat. "The building's structural integrity has been compromised," offered Dr. Pragmatic. the only hero who had brought a notebook. "That's one way to put it," Jenny said. "Another way would be to say that our hero saved a $0 cat by destroying a $50 million building that housed 300 families." "Hey," protested Megalass from the third row. "Mr. Whiskers is priceless to Mrs. Henderson." "I'm sure he is," Jenny agreed. "But perhaps next time you could try using the stairs." The seminar continued, with Jenny presenting increasingly absurd real-life scenarios from insurance claims. There was the time Hydro Hero flooded downtown to stop a fire in a hot dog cart. The incident where the human comet created a new lake in Central Park while chasing a pickpocket. And the memorable occasion when the Titanium Titan had used a historic monument as a club to fight off robot invaders. "The key," Jenny explained, "is to think before you act. Ask yourself, is the solution worse than the problem?" "But there's no time to think in the heat of battle," Captain Tremendous protested. "When Dr. Destruction is threatening the city with his death ray, I can't stop to consider property values." "Fair point," Jenny conceded. "That's why we're going to practice. Think of this as combat training, but for your brain." She divided the heroes into groups and presented them with scenarios. Each team had to devise the least destructive solution to various threats. "Team A," Jenny announced, "you're facing a giant robot rampaging through the business district. Go." The Crimson Crusader immediately suggested, "I could use my plasma beams to cut it in half." "Where would the halves fall?" Jenny prompted. "Oh, on the buildings?" "Try again." Shadowhawk raised a gloved hand. "What if we lured it to the abandoned warehouse district?" "Better. How would you lure it?" The discussions continued, with heroes slowly beginning to think strategically about minimizing collateral damage. Jenny was starting to feel optimistic when the conference room door burst open. "Emergency!" shouted a panicked intern. "The Destructor Alliance is attacking downtown. They've got weather machines, giant robots, and some kind of lava cannon." The heroes immediately jumped up, ready to rush out and save the day in their typical fashion. Jenny's heart sank as she watched 3 months of planning about to go down the drain. "Wait!" she called out. "This is exactly what we've been training for. Who can tell me the first step in minimizing damage during a major threat?" The heroes paused, looking at each other uncertainly. Then Dr. Pragmatic raised his hand. "Assess the situation and coordinate our response?" "Exactly," Jenny said. "Now let's put this into practice. Captain Tremendous, you're our heavy hitter, but you tend to throw things. What could you throw that wouldn't cause additional damage?" The captain thought for a moment. "The villains? Better. Crimson Crusader, your plasma beams are powerful, but imprecise. How can we use them effectively?" "I could focus on the weather machines. They're probably in an open area to affect the sky." "Excellent. Shadowhawk, your stealth abilities? Evacuate civilians from the danger zone before the fighting starts." Jenny felt a surge of pride as the heroes began organizing themselves efficiently. They designated roles, established communication protocols, and even assigned someone to direct traffic away from the battle zone. Megalas and Hydro Hero, you're on fire suppression for that lava cannon, Dr. Pragmatic suggested. Contain any damage before it spreads. The Titanium Titan can create barriers to protect buildings from stray attacks, added another hero. Within minutes, they had developed a comprehensive plan that would neutralize the threat while minimizing collateral damage. Jenny watched them file out, organized and focused in a way she'd never seen before. Ms. Martinez, Captain Tremendous, paused at the door. Thank you. I never really thought about the aftermath before. I just wanted to stop the bad guys. That's all anyone wants, Jenny said. But now you can stop them without creating more problems in the process. The battle that followed would go down in Metro City history, but not for the usual reasons. Instead of headlines screaming about destroyed landmarks and astronomical damage costs, the papers reported on the miracle battle of downtown. The Destructor Alliance was defeated with minimal collateral damage. The weather machines were disabled without flooding the streets. The giant robots were toppled in the empty warehouse district that Shadow Hawk had scouted. Even the lava cannon was contained. Its molten ammunition cooled and diverted into the harbor, where it created a new small island that the city would later turn into a park. The next day, Jenny arrived at work to find her desk covered in thank you cards from grateful citizens and business owners. Miss Chen stood beside the cubicle with what might have been a smile. The preliminary damage reports are in, she said. Total claims from yesterday's battle, $3.7 million. Previous estimates for a Destructor Alliance attack ranged from $500 million to $1.2 billion. So the program worked? Jenny asked hopefully. The program worked. In fact, the CEO wants you to expand it nationally. Congratulations, Director Martinez. Jenny stared at the new nameplate Miss Chen handed her. Director? Of the new Heroic Damage Minimization Department. You'll be developing training programs for heroes across the country. The board is also interested in your ideas for villain rehabilitation through insurance incentives. But that's a discussion for next quarter. As Miss Chen walked away, Marcus popped his head over the cubicle wall. Director, huh? Does this mean you'll stop complaining about bus throwing incidents? Never, Jenny said, grinning. But at least now I can do something about them. Her phone buzzed with a text from Captain Tremendous. Stopped a bank robbery this morning. 0 property damage. The bank manager nearly fainted from shock. Thanks for everything. Jenny leaned back in her chair, feeling satisfied for the first time in 3 years, 2 months, and 15 days. She had found a way to make a difference, not by developing superpowers or wearing a cape, but by using spreadsheets, presentations, and good old-fashioned common sense. The next week, she received a claim form that made her laugh out loud. It was from the Crimson Crusader. Accidentally melted a trash can while apprehending litter bugs. have already ordered replacement and arranged installation. Receipt attached. Total claim, $47.50. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And in a city full of superheroes, sometimes progress was the most heroic thing of all. Her second training seminar had twice as many attendees as the first. Word had spread for the hero community about the insurance lady, who could help them save the day without the usual astronomical bills. Some came reluctantly, dragged by their more responsible teammates. Others came out of genuine curiosity. "Welcome, everyone," Jenny began, noting with amusement that someone had installed a days without major property damage counter on the wall. It currently read 6. Today, we're going to talk about proportional response. Can anyone tell me why using a tsunami to put out a fire in a garbage can might be considered excessive? Hydro Hero raised his hand sheepishly. Because the water damage would exceed the fire damage by approximately 10,000%? Exactly. You've been doing your homework. The sessions became increasingly interactive. Jenny brought in civil engineers to explain structural weak points in buildings, city planners to discuss evacuation routes, and even a psychologist to talk about crowd dynamics during emergencies. The goal, Jenny explained during a particularly intensive workshop, is to make damage control as instinctive as your fighting moves. When you see a villain, you shouldn't just think, "Stop them." You should think, "Stop them while protecting the surrounding infrastructure and civilian population." She introduced practical exercises. Heroes practiced catching falling debris without creating more. They learned to redirect energy attacks skyward rather than into buildings. They even had sessions on creative problem solving that didn't involve throwing vehicles. "Remember," Jenny said, watching Captain Tremendous carefully set down a car he'd been about to hurl. Property damage isn't just about money. It's about people's homes, their businesses, their sense of security. Every building you save is a family that doesn't have to relocate, a small business that doesn't have to close. The Titanium Titan raised his metal hand. What about when the villains are using the buildings as weapons? Last month, Architect of Doom was animating skyscrapers. Excellent question, Jenny said, pulling up footage from the incident. Let's analyze this together. What were your options? The discussion that followed was enlightening. Heroes shared strategies, debated tactics, and even admitted past mistakes. The Crimson Crusader confessed to accidentally melting a playground while fighting ice villains. Shadow Hawk revealed he'd once crashed through so many skylights that a glass company had named their reinforced product line after him. The thing is, Megalas said during one session, we grew up watching movies where heroes smashed through everything and it looked cool. Nobody showed the aftermath. That's why we're changing the narrative, Jenny replied. You can still be cool without being destructive. In fact, I'd argue that precision and control are far more impressive than raw destruction. To prove her point, she showed them footage of their recent battles where they'd successfully minimized damage. the Warehouse District robot fight had gone viral, with commentators praising the hero's tactical brilliance. Tourism to Metro City had actually increased, with people feeling safer, knowing their protectors were both powerful and responsible. The program's success led to unexpected developments. Insurance premiums for the city decreased. Construction companies reported a 60% drop in emergency repairs. The mayor even declared a Jenny Martinez Day in recognition of her contributions to city safety and fiscal responsibility. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came 6 months after the program began. Jenny was reviewing claim forms when she noticed something unusual. An entire week had passed without a single claim exceeding $10,000. She checked the hero activity reports. They'd stopped 12 major crimes, prevented 3 villain attacks, and rescued countless civilians, all with minimal collateral damage. "Marcus," she called out, "look at this." Her colleague examined the reports, his eyes widening. "Is this real? Did our heroes actually go a whole week without destroying anything significant?" They did. The program is working better than I ever imagined. That evening, Jenny received an unexpected visitor. Captain Tremendous stood at her office door, looking uncharacteristically humble. "I wanted to thank you personally," he said, "not just for the training, but for making me think about what being a hero really means." "You were always a hero," Jenny said. "I just helped you become a more efficient one." "No, it's more than that. I used to think being strong meant using that strength all the time. You taught me that sometimes the greatest strength is restraint. My daughter can actually go to school in the building I saved last week, instead of it being rubble. That means more to me than any villain I've defeated." After he left, Jenny sat in her office, looking out at the city skyline. 6 months ago, she'd been a frustrated insurance adjuster drowning in damage claims. Now, she was reshaping how an entire generation of heroes approached their calling. Her phone buzzed with a message from the CEO. "Congratulations, Director Martinez. The board has approved your proposal for the International Heroic Standards Initiative. You'll be presenting at the Global Hero Summit next month." Jenny smiled. From processing claims to setting international standards for superhero conduct, it wasn't the career path she'd imagined, but it was the one the world needed. The next morning's claim inbox contained exactly 3 forms: a bent stop sign, a cracked window, and a hedge that had been accidentally frozen. Total damages: $1,847. The days without major property damage counter on the wall now read 15. And Jenny Martinez, the insurance adjuster who had tamed the world's most destructive heroes with nothing more than spreadsheets and sensible advice, began planning her presentation for the Global Hero Summit. Her topic: how every hero can save the world without destroying it first. In her conclusion, she would tell them what she'd learned: that true heroism wasn't measured in the number of villains defeated or the size of the threats overcome. It was measured in the lives protected, the homes preserved, and the communities kept whole. And sometimes, The most heroic thing of all was simply learning to think before you threw that bus.